Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Illumineers Quest podcast, where we talk everything Lorcana. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jacob.
And thanks for coming on this journey with us. Okay, so today's episode is going to be a good one. It's kind of going to be a little bit of personal reflection, a lot of looking back on the chapter, how do we feel about the state of the game? What do we think kind of as we finish in chapter 1 and move on to chapter 2, how do we feel about everything and, our first experiences with TCG and how the game has been going.
Just overall the trajectory of the game and where we think it's going. Yeah,
and we can talk a little bit about future looking too and, the prospects of everything, which I think, given the stuff we've seen so far with Chapter 2 looks good. But yeah, just kind of taking a step back from the day-to-day hustle of the game and, look at a little bit higher level on how stuff's going.
Absolutely.
So as always, if you, want to comment or suggest anything to the podcast, you can find us on YouTube at Illumineers Quest, and you can, leave any comment on our videos and, have the comments there. You can, shoot us a note or, tweet us on Twitter for, at Lorcana Pod. You can send us an email at lorcanapod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Spotify, iheart, Apple Podcasts, and all the major podcast networks if you're interested in listening to the audio version. So yeah, that's the main stuff for this week. We don't have any comments or any questions from listeners this time. There has been amazing support. I think a lot of the stuff we've covered in previous episodes, and so if there is you'd like to have a question or comment answered on an episode, please let us know, because we're still growing, so we don't have a ton, and so there are some times like this where we don't necessarily have one, but we'd love to have interactions with everybody listening. And so if you do have questions, please shoot us a note and we'll try to get it on an episode.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, your turn. Card of the week. What are you thinking this time?
I'm going with Mulan, Imperial Soldier.
I knew this was one of your favorites when we started.
So there's a reason I chose this, and I haven't played this much, but there is a reason I chose it.
It was one of your favorites when we started, I know.
It was, and I'm trying to figure out how. I know this can be meta. I know it can.
All right, give us the rundown.
Okay, let me find it so I can give you the exact.
All right, well, I have
details.
it then. If you're Mulan Imperial Soldier is a 5-cost inkable card, 4 strength, 5 willpower, and ruby. So a decent card there. And her ability though is lead by example, which says during your turn, whenever this character banishes and challenge another character in a challenge, your other characters get +1 this turn. And so a little bit of an Aladdin flair there with the adding lore to challenging. I will say I have played against this a couple times, and boy did it catch me off guard, because if you have 3 other characters on the board and they each get +1, I mean, you're probably looking at that person questing for 6 or 7 that turn, or 7 or 8 even. So,
and that's kind of like what I'm looking at. Maybe even the beast, the new beast before the new beast, kind of getting that much lore in one turn.
Yeah, I think if you play, maybe you come up with a Ruby Amber deck, like a Rockstar Stitch kind of centric, where you can throw him out and get a bunch of stuff on the board. Maybe you have a bodyguard or 2 on the board to protect the little ones until you can get Mulan out, or maybe Mulan's already on the board. You shift in Sitch, you throw a couple 1s or 2s out there. I don't know.
Like, I mean, Maximus, maybe.
It is interesting for sure. It is. I like the card a lot, but you're right. I think it has potential, and it's definitely underplayed as of today.
So I'm gonna try to work it in some decks. I think Ruby Amber is a great start.
Okay, cool. I like Mulan. I think that's not your normal cut card, so it's good to get in a little bit deeper cut, a little off the beaten path than your normal meta card. So
you have to
differentiate. I gotcha.
I was not going to attempt that word, but
gotta get a little. Yeah, can't stay on the same path every time. So I like that. Okay, so any other comments there from you on that one, or did we cover it?
I mean, I think the best thing is that you can ready it up and challenge again, so you can get +2 lore to all your characters for that turn.
How do you ready it back up?
With LeFou.
Okay.
Or you could...
Okay, yeah, if you're doing Fan the Flames, or...
Yeah.
That would be crazy, like a LeFou, Mulan challenge, Fan the Flames, Sword of Virtue go again, Shield of Virtue go again.
That's kind of what I'm thinking for
That'd be crazy.
The possibilities
Yeah, if you can figure out a way to make that work, I'd like to...
I mean, Fan the Flames is 1 cost.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
All right, I like that a lot. Okay, so... Moving on, looking at like news, what's on our mind, league recap. I think I'm kind of combining all of those into one. So the way our local league works is you pay to go play, but after you've had 2 matches that day, you get a pack for coming and playing. So it, sells them a little more cards, gives you the opportunity to get more cards, gives them some money to keep the doors unlocked or the lights on and so forth, which I like. I like a little bit. You get more cards, especially in today's world where it's really hard to come by cards most of the time. The main what's on my mind within conjunction is I've been, or combined, I think, between like the Rainbow Deck Day we did, the other league nights we've gone to, probably 20 packs maybe, like somewhere in that realm. Probably even more than that because your brother came with us on the Rainbow. So maybe even like 25 to 30 packs across like all the different days. I have not gotten anything worthwhile the entire time.
So I haven't been as much. I've been not able to go. But you're not even like some, maybe even a crappy legendary.
I got
like
a
Gantu?
Maui. No legend, not a single legendary. The person after me last week, guess what they pulled?
Enchanted?
An Elsa. Not enchanted, but I would I don't even care if it's an enchanted Elsa. It was an Elsa that is playable that I want and / need.
You're very angry.
I'm a little salty. I'm mainly what I'm saying is that my card draw luck is subpar for sure. The opponent I had when we finished playing, when we finished our second game, he was like, I just want you to know that everybody that I play, they go and they pull their card and they get a legendary. Guess what? Didn't get one. The guy he played after me, that was his second match that he got to go get a card, got a legendary. That was the Elsa.
Man.
That luck is just mind-boggling. So I think the best card I got, and you'll appreciate this one, I got a Maui this week.
Red? Ruby?
Yeah, I got a Ruby Rush Maui, like Reckless Maui. But I haven't even gotten a Cusco. Like I have 2 Cuscos in my deck. I need more Cuscos. Like there's so many like even non-legendary cards that could be useful. I bought a single Genie on the Job, the one that is 6 cost uninkable and Emerald that you play and bounces a card back to their hand. Mm-hmm. I got one of those after I bought the single. And so then I had my full 4 play set. But it didn't matter anymore because I am an unlucky son of a gun, and I want for one time to go in there and pull. I don't even care if it's an enchanted. I genuinely just want a legendary. Give me a semi. I don't want Gantu. I'm going to say I don't want Gantu because the card overlords are hearing me say this now, and they're going to give me Gantu. I don't want Gantu. I don't want Taka. I'm fine with a beast. I'm fine with even like not this specific one I'm going for. Like I would be fine with Maleficent. I'd be fine with Ursula. I'd be fine with Mickey Brave Little Tailor. Ideally Rapunzel or Elsa. Just please, as we go into this next week of cards, when I get another pack, I want a legendary. If you want to bestow an enchanted on me, I'm not going to complain.
I'm picking for you a Belle.
I'd be fine with Belle too. I don't have the same willpower to play Belle as I did when we started, but I would be okay with Belle because I still need play sets of her too. So that would be fine.
I'm picking a Belle for you. Good luck.
Alrighty. So that's the news / what's on our mind / cards we got / didn't get. Oh, I will, one quick caveat. I did get the promo Mickey Mouse Detective from coming to League. So that's a good card. That's a fun one to have. I've never gotten promos like that before in any of their like collecting I've done, and so it's really cool to have a Mickey like that. I will probably get that graded at some point when we do like TCG return or PSA return grading video. Definitely send that one off and get it graded.
I gotta get myself one of those. I gotta go. I'll be going.
Yes.
For sure.
Okay, so that's news recap. What's on our minds as we move into the main topic, which is state of the game. So, we've definitely come a long way. As I think about like the state of the game, the understanding of the game has changed so much that I really feel like I can understand the state of the game. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm getting at to start off with here for my first point is the meta and the diversity that you can use to have success with. So I may have touched on this, I may have not. I know we played Snap a little bit. You played Snap way longer than I did. I got burnt out on it pretty quick because I felt like the meta was so closely defined. I know since I've played, they make tons of balance updates and they've added new cards pretty frequently, and so it changes a lot. But I still feel like, from my experience talking to you and other friends that play Snap, that at any given point the meta is pretty narrow. I feel like that's the exact opposite with Lorcana, and I love it. You have Ruby Amethyst control, you have Steel Amber Sing Song damage deck, which is incredibly powerful. You have, a couple aggro decks with Emerald and Amethyst. Sapphire has even made its way into some aggro decks now. You have other steel decks that deal a lot of damage that can, mid-range the game. The deck that is my favorite that I've been playing is Amber Amethyst. The point I'm trying to say is that it's incredibly diverse, and I love to know that you're not going to play the same deck every time you go against an opponent.
Like, you could be a Ruby Amethyst deck, the meta one with Elsa and Heroic Outlaw and Maleficent, all that stuff. And you could be playing a just as good Tamatoa item deck.
We do have a guy at the league that is dead set on playing the Ariel Sapphire, like re-ready up item / Maurice deck, and he cranked out 13 lore in one turn on it.
Like, that's awesome.
It is really cool to see the options that you have available.
And that can beat meta decks, the most meta of decks.
It's not the most powerful, but to your point, if you pull the cards in the right way and get rolling, it can happen.
And that's what's so fun. And I just think that, the biggest thing about it is that there's so much diversity.
Yeah, I cannot stress that enough. The diversity of the game is by far my favorite piece. Mm-hmm. The characters, the cards, the inks, the meta, it's just so fun to have such a diverse, for lack of a better word, gaming experience every time you play it. I have yet to take the same deck to League 2 weeks in a row. I don't think I've played the same deck period in League. A little bit of that is because I don't have the cards I want. I think if I had the cards I want, I would probably be a little bit more stagnant with what I chose, because I do really enjoy the two decks I get to play on Pixelborn. But nonetheless, that's the cool piece, is that you can play around with it and try to, cook something up and have fun with it. And
I think that, of course, there are those top decks that give you the best chance of winning, but there are other ones that are diamonds in the rough that can beat those.
Yeah.
And that will win you the game.
And I think that's been shown too. Like when the whole thing kicked off and everything was going ready, like Ruby Amethyst was running rampant. Like it was like, how do you beat this? Mm-hmm. And then since then, there's been a lot of like, okay, we have to be able to beat Ruby Amethyst. And so there's been a lot of decks pop up that can beat Ruby Amethyst. And now, I think probably the most popular one is the Ariel singing deck with Steel, to sing Grab Your Swords and to sing A Whole New World and to sing a couple of the Amber songs as well. But again, I think that there are ways to beat those decks. Like we've shown that people can cook some stuff up and to really get to cool decks. So yes, I love the diversity of the meta. I love the ability to go down your own route. There's an invasive side of the meta that people are playing too that's really annoying to deal with. So yeah, the diversity is insane. I agree. I think it's incredibly fun.
Yes, for sure. All
right, your state of the game. How do you feel about everything now that we're getting to the end of chapter 1, going into chapter 2? We've had our first couple months of TCG playing experience, deck building, all of the above. How do you feel about where the game is, and did it meet your expectations and everything like that?
Overall, yes, it did meet my expectations. It's been super blast. Been able to to play with my brother, my dad. Just whenever we're a little bored, we just play the game. It's a good time. Deep strategy, which I love. Been able to. This has created opportunities for me to hang out with you guys more and create a podcast. We've gotten a lot out of it. I would say the biggest negative, though, about the state of the game.
I know where you're going. That's why I'm laughing.
The cards.
Yeah.
And accusation of cards. And
I think that'll get better. I think anything Disney, anything collectible like this, it's going to be a madness at the beginning. And don't get me wrong, like it's really frustrating. I said 2 seconds ago, I still don't have all the cards I want to build the decks I need to take to League. So I definitely feel that frustration. But it hasn't taken away my joy of it yet, by any means.
And I totally agree with that. It's just, it is taking away maybe the peak enjoyment I could have with it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, that's definitely the case.
And that's the part that's unfortunate. I don't think anyone is necessarily at fault except for the scalpers that are taking all these cards away from people that want to play the game. I think if there's anything that could have been done, maybe a Disney Pokemon card game should have been a little bit more higher print.
Yeah, I would like to know, like, if they printed more than they thought they would need to begin with, or if they wanted to make it sought after, to make it crazy, hyped up like this, or what the case might be. But I think we'll get there. I mean, Pokemon, a couple years ago was insane, and you couldn't find anything anywhere, and it's all over the place now. So I imagine we get there, but it is frustrating for sure.
And that's really overall the only negative I have.
Yeah. Oh, completely agree. Everything else is positive, and I'll throw definitely a curveball positive at you that we didn't think of in the beginning, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. Is multiplayer.
Multiplayer is awesome.
I think that's just as we think about like TCGs and the dynamics between like the play and the collecting and everything, like that's just a completely new dynamic, and the dynamic that it doesn't have to be super competitive, and it can be just a fun, like relaxing hangout game that you can play together with your friends. Like it makes it way more diverse, as we were talking about with the meta. It's just fun to be able to have it another option.
And I'll even say this, I haven't told you this, but we did a 3-player multiplayer with me, my brother, and my dad, which before that we've only done the 4-player, and it was still just as fun. Maybe a little less so because there's not a fourth person to add even more depth to the game. And
I and again, kind of going back to the cards, unfortunately I don't have enough to like build a multiplayer specific deck yet, but there are a lot of chapter 2 cards that have come out that affect multiple opponents, and so it's cool to see that, to like get the juices flowing for multiplayer decks again. And so I just, again, the dynamic and the full like organization of the game, the community of the game, I think it's been really strong. And so, I mean, yeah, that just enables another way to play that with the community.
And I think that is, like, if you're looking for a board game experience, pop out 4 starter decks with your family.
Yeah.
And then you can have a board game type experience.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect stepping off point for people
that are new to TCGs.
Yeah, if and we definitely said this in the beginning too. If you don't want to be super hardcore, you don't devote as much of your brain power as I definitely devote to this game, and don't want to be like ultra competitive, then starter decks are amazing. Like we still had a blast with starter decks, and especially if everyone else you're playing has starter decks and it's an even playing field, you can trade around the decks to make it fun, to keep it fresh. So you play, an Emerald and a Ruby one this time, and next time you play Amber Amethyst, and so it makes it fresh, and it's a really cool, easy entry point into the game.
Actually, you just reminded me of something. There's one negative I have about the state of the game.
Okay, go.
The voiceless aerial card.
Okay. We talked about it on the worst card list. Moving on.
It was in the starter deck. You made me think about it.
That was in the starter deck?
That was the one negative about the starter deck.
Well, hey, you know what? Well, you were an Amber Amethyst starter deck guy, so
yeah.
I get that one, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, I think, the opportunities continue to grow. I mean, kind of moving on to the next segue here into the next topic is, like, new content. We're in the, chapter 2 hasn't released yet. We're wrapping up chapter 1, but the hype for new stuff has definitely started. They're releasing new cards. They've released the new look for the new accessories, like the mats and everything, and the deck boxes. And so it's cool to see what new properties they're bringing in. I think Disney is so diverse, being Disney fans, the diversity of that is going to continue to bring on the content. And even if I'm not the biggest, like, Great Mouse Detective fan like you are, I like it, but the fact that you're so hype about it makes me hype about it. And so, like, just all that Disney fandom is really cool to have involved in the new content coming out too.
I mean, that is the excitement that a simple involvement of, like, Basil from Great Mouse Detective can add so much hype for me personally to a game, just by or Ratigan, just adding those deep cut characters and involving them in a way is so cool.
Yeah, and and I would imagine that there are people that, like, I don't know, Tarzan, for just off the top of my head. That, I mean, Tarzan's a pretty huge one. Like, Tarzan comes out and you're a casual Disney fan. It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get the Tarzan. I want to see the Tarzan cards. Maybe you buy a couple packs. Maybe you get a little addicted. Maybe you try to play. I think the entry level is very low for that, and so I like that possibility as well as you move forward. Mm-hmm. So that's cool to see too. I mean, the new content potential, I don't know if it could be greater for any property.
No. I mean, even with Pokemon, when they release a new generation, there's a limit. There's probably 100 to 150 new Pokemon every generation. It's limitless. It really is limitless. With starting at this point in Disney's tenure.
Oh yeah.
It is limitless.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about in like our Future Wishes episode, like some of the properties we want to talk through. I mean, there's movies that you have probably, or franchises even, maybe is a better way to put it. Like I don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean, for instance, if they ever go into the live action side like we talked about, where there's, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 characters you could make a card out of from just one property, and of those properties there's probably 40, so you're talking, I don't know, 500 characters that you can have on the slate. And when you're making multiple cards per character, it's endless. And
there's some real deep cuts that they could get into at some point. Did you know Little Mermaid had a sequel? There's Little Mermaid 2.
I did actually know that because my wife's a big fan, but yeah, big sequel.
Her daughter could be in the game at some point. Super crazy. Yeah. It really is endless for how deep they could go. They've added in John Silver from Treasure Planet as a legendary card
in the first set.
Which is incredible to me and really shows how deep they're going to go. Yeah,
and kind of on a side note on this though, I have watched so many Disney movies since this came out. I consistently watch, I don't know, one a month if I'm traveling and I have need a movie on the plane ride or something along those lines. Usually it'll be something from Disney Plus, but I've watched 20 since the set came out, and just nonstop, just consuming Disney content because it has me so hyped for Disney.
Disney Plus is a great pairing with Lorcana.
Yeah, it's insane for sure. And then talking about new content, new mechanics, we also touched on this and the Future Wishes and stuff. I like that they didn't just blow it out with the stuff we've seen so far. There's not just 40 new mechanics that nullify all of Chapter 1. It very much pairs well with what we've seen so far and just evolves the game versus completely revolutionizing it.
And yeah, we've even seen that with the new probably super meta beast card. Dragonfire can beat it. We have a Chapter 1 remedy.
There's still options to take care of it for sure. And, and everything from Chapter 2 hasn't been released. And so I'm sure there's other things that will deal with cards that are really powerful that we haven't seen. Mm-hmm. But I just like that they've added Resist. They've added a few other cool little things. The Big Cinderella has a really cool, ability about it to evolve the game, but it doesn't break it. So I think, if you get into the cadence of, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 chapters, maybe that's a little too long, of releases, and then you kind of do what Pokemon does where you have a new generation come out and all the other stuff is now in the archive and not part of the league's playable. I think you have that option to then revolutionize it, so you slowly evolve and then kind of level set and completely rego, and then evolve and level set and redo everything again. So it just, I hope that they do it that way. That would be a future hope, I guess, that I have on the way that they filter out the new releases. But yeah,
I also think another avenue that could go for this that would be really cool is just kind of maybe work it into the parks somehow. We're big parks fans. Big Disney Parks fans.
They do sell some stuff at Disney Springs from time to time. I would hope that they would do more. But yeah, if they do
maybe its own store in downtown Disney.
Park exclusive cards, that would be cool.
I mean, maybe it's a different kind of foil, a firework foil that they only have at Disney Parks, something cool like that.
I would love some park exclusive cards. I'm a big proponent of not doing too many exclusives because it just feels like a big wall in front of people that do want to have cool cards. And, and obviously not everybody can afford to go to Disney to go get a new card. And I think we're probably even in that boat. But that being said, it would be fun to like just have that like tie-in, like you said, to like, intertangle all of the different, mediums that they have.
There was a card game that was at Disney World. Then it was a Disney free card game that they give you free cards. It was at the fire station, and you had this like deck of cards, and there was like a whole scanning thing.
When was this?
It discontinued probably about 3 years ago, I would say.
I wish I remembered that, but I don't.
I forget. I think it's Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. It was called.
Oh, okay.
And every holiday, they would have an exclusive card that you can go and get for that year and that specific holiday. And if somehow we could get to something like that, would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe not playable cards, but have the same style and make it part of the Lorcana genre.
Maybe a different art piece. Maybe.
Yeah, different, like an alt art of some sort. I mean, I think intertwining it like that, especially for Disney park fans, can help grow the game.
Absolutely.
Which is ultimately what we want to happen. Which kind of segues perfectly into the next piece is like the status of the league / the player base. I feel like locally it's pretty healthy still. I know that there's a ton of scalping and collecting going on, but like specifically about players in the league, there are definitely like peak weeks where there's a ton of players. There's definitely like slower weeks, but in general, like there's still a bunch of people playing every week, and so it's good to see that there's still this far into chapter 1. There's still a lot of interest for it.
And from what I've seen, they're happy about it. Like they're having a good time playing Lorcana still. It's not just pure strategy. It's a fun Disney experience.
And it's definitely a variety of players. So we definitely have the seasoned Magic. I know TCGs. I know how to build decks. I know how to like devise a strategy. On the other side, you have people like us who came into this because we're huge Disney fans, love the idea of kind of the interaction with card games. And there's a ton of people that haven't played card games before. I would say it might even be like close to 50-50. Like, I think everybody that I played at League last week were new to playing card games, which is fantastic to get to. So it has the platform to build the player base. And so if you can integrate into the other Disney mediums, like even on cruises and stuff, then I think you have that option to really grow the player base and make this a really long-standing, game.
I am just waiting for the big boom with all the content creators online, and I'm waiting for at some point for the widespread audience of Disney to get introduced to this game. I'm just waiting for it to happen, and I think it will happen.
Yeah, I definitely, on the flip side of that, kind of going to that negative that we've talked about already in this episode with the scarcity of the cards. There have been people at League that I've seen either, like we have local groups where we, post online or do whatever. And it's like, hey, I'm getting out of this. I can't find the cards I want. It's just not as fun because it's too much of a hassle to try to build the deck I want. And it's definitely by no means rampant, but I think there is a barrier to entry still with the cards being really hard to find. And so once that clears up a little bit, I think that will enable a lot of those, Disney first fans to just be able to walk into a store and buy a starter deck like we talked about and start playing. Where you have, like today, you have to be like us and really try.
And yeah, we were those Disney first fans that like, okay, we're choosing to be all into this right off the get-go. And I don't think that's everyone.
No, everyone's definitely not like that. We're definitely on the peak Lorcana fandom.
We made a podcast about it, so that should tell you where we're at on this.
Should tell you
before
about
the game
fandom.
came out, we made a podcast.
Yep.
So we just want everyone to be as hyped and as excited and love the game as much as we do,
and just like have a sustaining community that we can continue to play with.
Yes,
I mean, we obviously have a group of friends that we are close with that we can play with each other. But I think the League aspect, like I've met some cool people at the League, and it's cool to see that opportunity be out there. And so I don't want the leagues to die out. And so having that option, or having that like on the horizon of more growth into more player bases because of the availability and because of the passion behind Disney and the characters will be cool to see.
Absolutely.
All right, so I guess just the last question that I have for you on this one is, you feel like we're in a good direction. You feel like we're going in the right place. Is there anything that has happened or hasn't happened that you would like to see changed or that you want to add? I mean, obviously we've talked about a bunch of stuff to add, but just in like overarching, are we moving in the right direction and are we going to a long sustaining future?
I think so. I think we're in the right direction. Overall, I think we need, like I was saying before, I think we're headed toward that big overall boom where the larger Disney audience will take interest in it.
Christmas has to help, right?
Christmas has to help.
We're going into Christmas. So.
The Chapter 2 reprints and Chapter 1 reprints are going to come out by that time. That's been officially said.
Yep.
So that'll help definitely. Parents are going to see those in the popular, sections right out the front. So they're gonna be there. They're gonna be noticeable.
Yeah, I think selfishly the reprint before Christmas is gonna be hard to find because it's before Christmas and I want a bunch of cards as we all do. But unselfishly, I think if they can do that and get those out the weeks before Christmas, that could be huge for the community.
Hopefully those starter decks are popular for kids that just want to get into a cool Disney card game.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what we want. We want everyone to be able to enjoy this as much as we do.
Grow the league, grow the community, grow our community. Maybe one day we'll get to launch some product and open some stuff early, selfishly again. But
man, that's the dream, isn't it?
I think that like that was our goal when we started this, was like pie in the sky. Where do we want to take this? It's like if we can review product early.
Or reveal a card exclusively.
I mean, that would be wild if we got to reveal a card. But yeah, just get some review stuff.
We'd instantly try to make that card meta.
Yeah. Oh, we would definitely. That would be 100% our, like, it has to be in every deck we play.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. I think in general we're in a good direction. I think the leagues and building out, they were ready for all of that from the start, and so there was a way for people to play. I don't think I think you mentioned this, like it's not overly competitive. It's not like cutthroat. Like it's a very friendly environment. You do have the competitive people, which is fine. I mean, we're definitely more on the competitive side, but I definitely have a ton of fun with it as well. So just think that environment and that atmosphere, which deals a lot to the Disney fans, that's definitely the way to start it. So we got off to a good start. I think, again, the cards not being available is kind of hurt us, but we're getting into Chapter 2, which is giving more content, more availability, more opportunity to get cards, because now you have Chapter 2 and Chapter 1 for the casuals. So I think in general it's in a good place and we're going in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what happens next year, because I think next year, again, like we talked about on the future sets, like do they get into Pixar? Do they not get into Pixar? Do they go into live action? Like some of those things will probably happen eventually, but it's just cool to be a part of this and see what they come up with as we move forward.
Absolutely. It's been a great ride so far.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers it. I mean, I know that this was, more or less just kind of getting our thoughts on things, but
before we head into the next chapter,
yeah,
I think is the big.
Yeah. I would love to get some of everybody else's ideas too. I mean, we said this at the beginning, but again, like if you have any, thoughts or like cool ideas that you would like to see on things going further, like let us know. Or if there's like any integrations, like into the parks, we talked about a bunch, or if there's integrations into Disney cruises, I don't know, there's so many Disney avenues that people can consume content and things, that it would be really cool to see how other people interact with Disney and how they would like to have those kind of paths cross as Lorcana moves forward.
Definitely, yeah. Just let us know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, let us know, and if there's any big topics that you'd like to have added to the conversation, let us know, and we can definitely cover that in a future episode. So I think that wraps it up for this one. Appreciate everyone as always. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.